What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. There's a principle in filmmaking of frame control where you control what the person is seeing, how the camera moves, and what's being captured. You can't capture everything. You're trying to project a message, send a specific vision for the world. Frame control also applies to politics, where you don't have to answer the reporter's question. You're not a slave. They don't have power over you. You can challenge a question and kick it right back into their faces, which is exactly the tactic that Vivek Swami is using right now, and it's so incredibly smart in how he is doing interviews. Every single time that Vivek Swami is on the stage with a corporate media reporter, he is viewing them as the enemy, as a opponent, as someone to challenge. And it's creating an incredible series of wins for Vivek. Like, for instance, in this CNN clip, Vivek is asked about Donald Trump and Donald Trump using colorful language. And he's like, what the hell are we talking about this for? You're the problem. You're not covering real issues in America. That's called frame control. He doesn't need to answer the question, which is a trap, which is a signal boost for a specific agenda. You can actually control the entire conversation because you're a free man. You don't have to dance to their tune. It's beautiful. Check this out. This is going thermonuclear right now. It's Vivek on CNN.
That language, they live like vermin. Do you believe that that is, as your Republican colleague Chris Christie has said, neo-Nazi rhetoric?
This is a classic mainstream media move. Pick some individual phrase of Donald Trump, focus on literally that word without actually interrogating the substance of what's at issue.
The word was chosen for a reason.
We are in the middle of a cultural war in this country.
The word was chosen for a reason.
It's actually describing a series of behaviors. You have Antifa and other related groups that have been burning down cities for the last 3 years in this country.
Would you describe them as vermin?
Wildly violating the rule of law. We have an invasion on our southern border. We have millions of people crossing our southern border. Let's talk about the substance of why we have to recognize that we're not in ordinary times.
Would you use that language yourself?
The vocabulary of the vermin or not is not what's important. Well, I haven't used that language. So you can look at my track record on the campaign trail. I talk about the issues. We all talk about them differently. But what I'm not going to do is play some game of focusing on some word that somebody else said without ignoring entirely the substance of what we're actually talking about. A border crisis of historic proportion. Economic stagnation we haven't seen in 50 years. A national identity crisis and a loss of national pride in the next generation that's potentially existential for this country. Let's talk about our dependence on China. Today we're actually talking about Xi Jinping, picking on Donald Trump's word vermin to talk about that status quo. You know what's vermin? What's running around San Francisco on a given day before Gavin Newsom cleaned it up on a dime to roll out the red carpet for Xi Jinping. If he could do that for Xi Jinping, he could have done it on an ordinary day, and yet we're here sitting talking not about the substance of that, but on one word that Donald Trump said in some speech in Miami. This is what's wrong with the mainstream media. Focus on the substance and let's have an actual policy debate rather than talking to a presidential candidate instead of the policy substance of what's actually going on in the country, picking on some word that Donald Trump said on a certain day and asking me for comment on it. Give me a break.
So you can see exactly why Vivek's not going to be asked on stage anymore. He did this at the GOP debate, right, with Kristen Welker saying, are you going to apologize for pushing the Russia collusion hoax? Look at these responses. Debate straight up murdering the MSM, another mainstream media tactic. If you don't jump into their frame and accept the label, look at this, accept the label that they give you, an attempt to interrupt and detail and persuade your own response. He is quickly becoming the voice of the intellectual right. He's able to communicate right-wing policies in a digestible way, topics that are complicated, extremely helpful to the American First Movement. You can see the defeat on her face towards the end, Vivek taking her to school, Vivek going off on everyone, Love calling him out and refusing to be interrupted before he finished his point. He's done this before, and the beautiful part was him allowing Kristen Welker to just sit in silence, right? During the debate. You push the Russia collusion hoax. Do you apologize? This is the moment.
Swami, let me turn to you. Please make your case. Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made-up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Roberts.
Sorry. This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to Governor Christie. Why you?
Vivek has been using this tactic in other hits, and it's been really nicely deployed. On CNN with Jim Acosta, remember Russiagate, Jim Acosta, scream at Donald Trump, Jim Acosta. The media is so good at this. This is why it's so smart for us to be trained in this. You don't have to accept their framing. Frame control. You're not a slave. They're not your master. We are human beings that have agency. We can control our own mouth and our own mind. The media does not need to control these things. Break out of the matrix. Come on, Andrew Tate. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Vivek Swami on CNN talking to Jim Acosta, being like, hold up, it was CNN who lied to the American people, not Donald Trump. Watch.
Let me get to some issues. This week, Trump opened up a rally in Texas with the rendition of the national anthem sung by some of the January 6 rioters who broke into the Capitol. He went on to call them hostages. Do you agree with Trump that January 6 prisoners are hostages?
I think many peaceful protesters on January 6th should absolutely not be in prison. We have a dual standard of justice in this country. One standard applied.
But Trump is using the word hostages. Do you think that they're hostages?
For the prior 2 years.
Isn't that irresponsible to call them hostages with what's going on in Israel right now?
I mean, Jim, let me just be really clear about what's irresponsible as it relates to coverage of Donald Trump. And I think that your network and others like you owe some accountability here. From the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that never was, to the Hunter Biden laptop story that was actually real before people before the election were told that it was false. So I think that the real accountability here belongs to the media. Speak the truth, admit accountability where you were wrong.
The question is whether you agree with him calling them hostages.
Were denied constitutional rights. Well, I think I agree with the spirit of it. The spirit of it is those people, many of them have been denied their constitutional rights, and many of them who were peaceful,
they're going through the justice process.
A different standard of the rule of law to them than somebody else. Well, I don't think that many of those prosecutions are just. My view is if you're using one standard of political prosecution for somebody because they have political views different from your own, that's not justice. That is injustice. And that's why I've said that anybody who is a peaceful protester on January 6th, for those peaceful protesters, they will earn a pardon from me on day one. And I will stand by that, Jim.
And what do you get when you engage and when you fight like this, right? When you use this as a tactic to fight. Look at some of the reactions that Vivek owns CNN hack. You know what's vermin? What's running around San Francisco on any given day? Gavin Newsom cleaned it up on a dime to roll the car out the red carpet for Xi Jinping. CNN had Vivek Ramaswamy on last night. He absolutely bulldozed the anchor. As I said, he's a dark horse. If something happens to Trump, he's wittier than the others. Yeah, because he just straight up uses intelligent tactics. I love when Vivek Ramaswamy flips the script. Just because they have a camera in your face and they're sitting in a little studio doesn't mean that they're in control of your entire life, your brain, or your mind. You don't have to answer the question with their framing, and you don't have to accept their framing. Frame control. Have your own conversations, right? Really, really valuable. The best example of this, obviously, is this apoplectic meltdown the other night on fired, disgraced anchor Fredo Cuomo on News Nation, who is going to be moderating the next debates. They won't ask your boy Benny to do it. Of course, they won't ask Tucker Carlson to do it. Dan Bongino. They wouldn't ask Joe Rogan to moderate a debate. They have to ask News Nation, because that's where all conservatives get their news. Anyway, here's Vivek taking them to the cleaners. Watch.
Just give me a freaking break. You turn on social media, you understand. People should watch that debate. I went to New Hampshire. People were laughing at the idea of the mainstream media's coverage of the New York Times columnists and people like you who belong there with one narrative because you have some identity politic vision of what you think a leader of this country should look like.
Nikki Haley
when in fact the grassroots of this country understand. Well, the fact of the matter is you guys have made a career out of deciding that the America First agenda is not the future of this country. Kick that out of the Republican Party. Put a genteel version that you can control as your little puppet so American politics looks the way you want it to. And yes, many people, you know what? We don't need a Republican Party leader who itself is a wholly owned subsidiary of Boeing, which itself is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Democratic Party, masquerading as a Republican.
In the end, it's just nice to have somebody who's playing smart. That's it. Just play smart. We're not simps, ball gag, dog walk people for the corporate media. You don't have to do it. You don't have to accept their framing. They have a game that is rigged to hurt you, to kill you. And so you can, like, be free, okay? We talk a lot about freedom. Nobody ever acts free. This is acting free. Frame control, okay? You have a right to challenge their framing and to set up your own framing and make them answer. It's amazing. Make the media answer the question. That's how we win. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe for more winning. See ya.